Oh boy. Attack on Titan, Season 4, Episode 1. First things first, let's talk about the opening. I don't really enjoy the opening, right? Because it doesn't, catch on. It's not something that's very catchy. So therefore, I really didn't enjoy it. Thing is, the opening is not bad, but if you rank it compared to all the Attack on Titan openings, this is by far the worst, right? And then number 2 would be Season 3's opening. Alright, so yeah, I did not really like that. So let's talk about the entire story so for the episode. So 4 years have passed, and because Marley has lost the female Titan and the colossal Titan, other neighboring countries have finally found the courage to actually attack Marley, right? It probably has something to do with the female Titan and the colossal Titan, because if you really think about it, okay, they still have Titans. So the fact that they've lost the colossal Titan and the female Titan, and people finally think they have enough of a chance to even start a war in the first place, that must mean that these two particular Titans that they've lost have something about them that heavily decreases Marley's firepower, right? So clearly in this episode, throughout the entire episode, you can see that Marley has a very low disregard of Eldians. Now, if you didn't get the message in Season 3, then you should get the message in this episode of Season 4, very early on, right? You can see this with the suicide bombers, alright? So you can tell these people are in fear. They never volunteered to be suicide bombers, and clearly you can see that they're going to be used. These people are crying, bro. These people are terrified, petrified, whatever it is. They don't like it. So clearly, Marley is using these Eldians to do this in the first place, and that shows how they don't care. Another thing is that they've basically said that this part of the war is really dangerous, right? For, even Titans to do, right? So they put all these Eldians forward in, battle because they don't care about these Eldians. If Eldians die, then they haven't really lost anything, right? So that shows another, clear sign of disregard. And finally, if you look at the airplane, when the Titans were coming in, the mindless Titans were coming in, if you look at these people, you can tell that here are two things that might have possibly happened to them. All right, number one is they have been drugged, because if you look at their facial expressions, these people already look like Titans, okay? And we know that Titans used to be humans before. Now, these humans used to have consciences, right? If you look at, Grisha Yeager and his team that got caught because of, Zeke snitching, these people were perfectly okay in their minds. And once they turned into Titans, then they became retarded. So now, if you're looking at these people, you can tell clearly they have been drugged. It is either that, or these people are actually of the mentally ill. So it would make sense how Marley deals with mentally ill Eldians. They just turn them to Titans because, well, they are mentally ill, they need taken care of and all these other things. It's going to cost them a lot of funding to have these people in the army. So most likely they get the mentally ill out of Eldia and just turn them into pure Titans. That is actually sadistic. So we get introduced to Gabby. Gabby is apparently the best or the most excelling person out of all the soldiers. Apparently there's a new warrior training going on, because obviously the armored Titan and any other Titan shifter are basically, their years are running up, right? They have 13 years to live after they inherit the power of the Titans, and apparently the armored Titan is near his death, which is Rhino. So therefore they are training new warriors in order to take the powers of Rhino or any other Titan shifter, right? Because there are more. There are 9 of these motherfuckers. So Gabby is the most excelling person, and she basically shows why she's excelling is because out of all of them, she's the most craziest. Okay, the plan that she came up with is very cunning. Not even the general or whoever was in charge or the commander was able to come up with this. So she does it. She strips herself naked. She goes in front of these people. They think that she's injured, right? And obviously in war, seeing white flags or white clothing or whatever it is waving around, basically means surrender. So they think that she's surrendering. They don't know if she's an Eldian or not. She throws these grenades into this train track where this train is, and it carries anti-Titan cannons. This basically destroys the train track. she basically survives because of Galliard, right? Galliard is now the new Jaws Titan, because if you look at the way Galliard swoops around and attacks, he attacks with his jaw, right? So therefore you can tell this Titan uses his jaw, so therefore it must be the new Jaws Titan. What that basically means is that Yamir has died, alright? That was a stupid move. Why would you go with Berthold and Rhino to help them, and then they just hand you in and get you killed? Maybe she had low disregard for her life, but Yamir was one of those characters that I really couldn't understand. Sometimes she's so selfless to the point where she would rather die than not be selfless, and this is exactly what happened. She died, she lost her life. The reason why they done that most likely is because obviously she has not been brainwashed like the warriors have, and therefore she will be more resistant to what they're telling her to do. I mean, look at Gabby, for example. Okay, Gabby wants to be a good Eldian, and she even risks her life in order to carry out the plan that she did in this episode, which tells you that she has basically kind of been brainwashed here by the propaganda that they feed them. And even one of the sergeants basically said, look at these mindless Titans, that's what you Eldians are, you lot are devils, this and that. They're basically brainwashing them, telling them this is what you are, and in order to repent for that, you have to serve in the army to show Marley that you are a good Eldian. One thing that I did notice in the entire army is that the only Marleyans that seem to be there are the people in charge, right? So there was Magath, who was in charge, and then there was that guy who was talking about all you Eldians are basically devils. Those are the only Marleyans there, meaning that most likely, very likely, the entire army basically consists of Eldians, because they are the lower class and therefore they are more expendable in battle. So therefore that must mean Marley's majority of Marley's army must consist of basically Eldians being used for stuff that they don't want Marleyans to do, hence the warriors and the Titan shifters. After Gabby basically successfully gets rid of the cannons, the Titans come out, Galliard comes out, and then Rhino goes up next. Rhino now has a little stubble or beard or whatever you want to call those little rat hairs on his face, right? So he turns into the armored Titan, and he basically destroys a lot of the cannons in the fort to make sure that it is okay for Zeke to transform into the Beast Titan and deliver the final blow. Now, one thing I definitely did not like, and I really had to sit down and contemplate saying all this, I stopped myself from doing the review because I was really pissed off when I saw this. The quality of the animation has definitely gone down, and based on what I've seen, I don't think Mappa can basically handle Attack on Titan. So we got a lot of CG animation, which I wasn't really fond of, because it's like, if you look at like season 3, there's a shot of Zeke throwing boulders and stuff, and that didn't really need any CG at all. I do get that Wit Studio had to use CG to basically make the Colossal Titan move around, because based on the workload and the amount of frames you'd have to draw in order for the Colossal Titan to move so smoothly, it would be near impossible, or it would take a very long time in order for them to do that. So that would make sense to do it with CG, right? But things like the Titans running around and all these other things, that was not necessary to use CG in, but they still done it anyway. I know they're trying to save time, but at the end of the day, right, it just looked very choppy. Rhino running around looked like it was very low in frame rate, and Zeke just throwing things, it just didn't really look as dynamic as it would with Studio. So that kind of really the CG of the Titans moving around really took me out of the action. I was expecting that to be dynamic, very explosive, to catch my eye, and that was the most exciting bit of the entire episode, but I didn't get that because the amount of CG used just took me out, and that kind of makes me worried about the entirety of season 4, well, part 1 anyway, because apparently we are only getting like 16 episodes for the season, right? If you look at the trailer and the stuff animated in the trailer, it was all hand drawn, it was all 2D, but if you look at the finished product, it's even worse than what was in the trailer. So they not only did wrong by using CG, they also misled us by giving us hand-drawn imagery in the trailer, and then giving us CG in the real one. So it's one of those situations where the trailer is actually better than the final product. And I'm kind of worried because there are lots of other scenes that are coming up which are very important and have a lot of action in there. I hope they don't actually use CG in order to do this. I hope it was just the first episode and they were just rushing to get things done. With that being said, that will be my review. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. The next video I will be making a things you missed for all the anime watchers about things that they missed in this episode alone. With that being said, I have nothing more to say. I hope you enjoyed my review, the good and bad, and a few details in between. That being said, I have nothing more to say. Bye.